What is up, RotoGrinders? Dean here, Dean78904. That is my daily fantasy handle. Hopefully, we take something down tonight. You'll see that name atop a Fanduel contest, atop a DK contest. Certainly, you did not yesterday, and that's why it's daily fantasy sports. You know, you crap the bed, you make $0 American dollars, 0 loonies, 0 toonies, and then you're right back at it today. And like an extra sketch. We started all over again from the beginning. Going to take it down once again tonight. Big boy slate, not messing around. We got TJ. TJ, the greatest DFS player in all of Saskatchewan, undoubtedly. You've been busy with doing some wedding stuff all day. What is the official wedding? When are we getting married?
August 13th. I picked out my suit today, and I'm a groomsman in my best man's wedding, which is 3 weeks before mine, and so got my suit for that tailored. It's been a busy day so far. I'm excited to dive into the baseball slate. We have a fun one, and I, unlike you, didn't lose all of my dollars last night. I made about 25% of my entry fees back. So big day for me yesterday.
Well, we should just pull it all together and chop it up. But we're friendly enough. I bought you a wedding gift. That's how friendly we are.
True, absolutely. And I stand by it. If you want to make the flight, you are 100% welcome to come. We'll hook you up with a nice discount at a hotel, get you a nice supper. It'll be a fun time.
Well, yeah, I certainly hope. I would need all the perks possible to entice me.
Think of how fun it would be to do a GrindersLive in this room together.
It would be a blast. Yeah, for sure. I would get to play with all your toys.
You'll be looking at like a 90-degree Fahrenheit, 80 to 90-degree Fahrenheit day. It'll be good.
Yeah, we not a lot of time for shenanigans. Well, I'm sure we'll work into shenanigans throughout the show. Of course, we're here for 2+ hours if you include the crunch time guys as well. On later for crunch time, you got Grant Neiffer. I guess Grant is going to be hosting. He's going to be stepping in for Roth. Roth is off today, looks like. STL Cards, fresh off his he won like a big boy. We can talk about this later, I guess, when we bring him on. He bet like over 5K. He wasn't messing around in the Rockies yesterday against the Dodgers. And yeah, I was a chalk donkey, and I played myself some Dodgers. Also, the curator of the bat and the blitz. Y'all get DerekCarty around 620-ish, give or take. Going to bring in Tim. Tim, I believe, did I see that you wrote an article today for Scores and Odds? I was going to tell the people. Want to let the content be seen. What did you write today for Scores and Odds? Was it golf?
Yeah, it was golf for the John Deere Classic this week. Yep, have a couple picks in there, and it's not going to be a great field, but there's definitely some good bets out there.
So they're whittled down because a lot of the guys have taken a choice, the Live Tour or the Golf Tour, and I guess they can only participate in majors, and this is not a major. Does that sound about right?
It's also that a lot of people have gone across the pond already to prep for the British Open. So there's the Scottish Open, I believe, not this week, but the following week. So a lot of guys have already gone over there. The John Deere Classic, even before the Live Tour, was kind of yeah, exactly. So this is not traditionally a strong field event.
Who's the biggest favorite? Who's like the name? Because it's a guy that would traditionally be like 30 or 40 to 1. That's now like 12 to 1 just by default, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The last time I looked, when I wrote the article, Adam Hadwin is 10 to 1, which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. If he actually wins the tournament, I would be shocked.
So it's funny. I have your article pulled up. I just dropped it in chat. And this is a good advertisement for just shopping around because it says 10 to 1 on DK, but 18 to 1 on FanDuel and 18 to 1 on PointsBet. And, my math is kind of rusty. UCF, blame it on them. But I'm pretty sure, Tim, if you're going to bet that, bet the 18 to 1, yes?
Oh, absolutely. That's a great thing about golf, and that's a great thing that we offer at Scores and Odds. Like, shop at your favorite legal sports book. But I still wouldn't bet Adam Hadwin at 18 to 1. So.
Don Yeezy said it was a great read there in chat. TJ, your Agents of Fandom article, that was not today, was it?
Agents of Fantasy article usually comes out today. I'm going to do one on a different day this week just because today has been crazy, and I just got a chance to look at the slate about 45 minutes before we started. So no Agents of Fantasy today, but we still are here on GrindersLive, free show on YouTube. Every 50 likes, we're going to drop another Spidey Bomb, progressively less chalky and more sneaky as we go. So we're already only 30 likes away from the first one. So even though there's no Agents of Fantasy article, we do have still the Spidey Bomb coming. And if you want some Agents of Fandom content, I interviewed Scott Adsit yesterday, who's the voice of Baymax from Big Hero 6. He's Pete from 30 Rock. He was on The Office, on Friends, bunch of stuff. Had a good chat with him yesterday. It's up on our YouTube as well.
Was he a writer on 30 Rock or just an actor? I know he played one of the writers. I think he was the head writer or co-head writer with Tina Fey, right? On the show?
Yeah, he was both. He was part of a wild group that graduated from their college in Chicago's acting program. It was
Second
Tina Fey,
City?
Amy Poehler. Second City. And it was cool. One of our writers is from there as well. So I got a bit of I had to chat with him first. And it was like Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, Scott Adsit. There was just a bunch of them who ended up making it quite famous.
Yeah. Second City. It's, that's kind of like an SNL, that's not on TV essentially, right? More or less.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Exactly.
Let's dive in and talk about today's slate. Oh, now went ahead and I dropped. There was another one. If you guys like some player props, I presume you do. If you're in the appropriate states, we got Keith Eister, a free article as well on Scores and Odds. He has 4 takes as far as pitchers, overs, some unders. Actually, they're all overs. There you go. Go ahead and check that out. I just dropped that in the YouTube chat. What's up, YouTube? Hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications so you know.
I want to say as well, I did just put a PrizePicks team in. They got a taco play right now. Zach Wheeler, his strikeout prop is down to 5.5 strikeouts. So I just made a nice little PrizePicks team with including the over on that.
Yeah, you can bet the taco, I believe, up to $25. That's the most you can get off of it. But for sure, over 5.5, it absolutely seems like a strong bet. Obviously, as far as this slate, let's take the screenshot. By the way, second half of that Minnesota Cleveland game is on DK, so it's a 15-game slate there. FanDuel threw it out. FanDuel does not mess with the doubleheaders. So that's why you'll notice a slight difference between the two slates. Buxton did not play in game 1. He pinch hit in game 1. So I presume he will be starting.
He is in the lineup that just came out.
Yeah, both of those lineups are already out, which makes things a lot easier.
Yeah, thankfully that game is over. We have a Coors game. The Dodgers have a team total above 6. Of course, they were massive flops yesterday. Chad Kuhl threw a no-hit. No, a complete game. I mean, good for him. But, man, and this Dodger lineup is even weaker. Of course, Betts is hurt. Now, no Will Smith. This Dodger lineup is, not great. Chris Taylor batting cleanup. Max Muncy, who's just all sorts of speculation if he's a mess, if he's not a mess, if it's small sample stuff. He's walking a lot. And then Hanser Alberto, Clay's brother Trace. He's got some power, but he's got some holes as well. Lux, and then Barnes. It's going to be interesting to see. And then there's some other spots to look at. There is a fire emoji. If you check out Kevin Ross Weather Edge tool, we got a fire emoji in Coors, 89 degrees, weather blowing out, dead center at 9 miles per hour. Fire emoji also in Kansas City. Looking at a 14% bump in homers there and a 151 game sample, 86 degrees. And was there any other fire emojis? No, I think the Cubs lost theirs, but I thought they had one earlier today.
They got some good wind and some heat, but I just think it's like a degree or two below the fire emoji. But it's some great hitting weather in Chicago as well.
And in Chicago, it's a tremendous sample size, so I might weight that one more than any of the other fire emojis. To be honest,
not to kid you. I'm sorry, Tim, but I'm curious your thoughts because I'm a little surprised that number's 9. I thought it would be higher. I know these offenses are both kind of putrid, weak, not great.
Yeah.
But 9 seems a little low for a kind of a windy Wrigley game.
I completely agree with you. I think it's just because that Cubs lineup is so weak and they're so right-handed heavy, and Castillo excels against righties. So he's really bad against left-handed hitters. But the Cubs, they don't really have any other than Ian Happ, I guess. So
and they're the favorite.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, so there's definitely, but I mean, you saw that. I mean, that's a 170 game sample size at Wrigley, and you 52.8% increase in homers, 29.2% increase in total runs. That's massive.
We rarely get a sample that big in Chicago,
right.
for this kind of game. So, and I guess it's probably right on the fringe as far as getting the fire emoji. I don't know what makes
this is the Wrigley win game. Like when we talk about Wrigley win games, this is the ones we're talking about because as we see, we have the huge sample size. Like this is the type of game we see when the Wrigley win picks up is in the typical temperature zone we'd see in Chicago, and clearly the bombs are flying when that's the case. So I'm on the same page as Tim here. I like this game quite a bit.
Why are we not hammering the over in this? Like calling up, if you know a guy, if you're in the right state, 9 just seems too low. I know the stakes are not bad. It's weather edge. I mean, I don't know if Roth wrote it up today. Like Roth will take his picks just based upon weather. If you're a scores and odds sub, but this seems like one that you just sort of play the over, and you don't really think about who's hitting and who's not. They're all professionally trained to hit baseballs.
And if you're nervous about the Cubs, not having a great lineup, like Castillo doesn't really strike out people anymore. So I mean, the ball's going to be put in play, and that's huge in a Wrigley game. Like a random fly ball here and there could end up being a 2-run homer. So I mean, that's
Castillo under strikeouts. That's part of my prize picks today. Me and Tim already off the bat. We're locked and loaded.
What's the number? Like I'm going to guess it's a 5.5 or 6 or 6.5.
6.
6.
I went under 6.
Let's see what
my team is: Zach Wheeler over 5.5, Luis Castillo under 6, Kyle Schwarber over 0.5 total bases, Corey Seager over 1.5, Paul Goldschmidt over 1.5.
Man, that is you don't see that very often. Over 0.5 base hits
for a guy who's leading off and a quality hitter like Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah, I mean, walks obviously don't get you there. He is facing Charlie Morton, who's been really good. He's striking out a lot of people of late, for what it's worth. That's an interesting game because, it's two theoretically good offenses historically, but they're both without their two best hitters. Harper going to be out for a while. I believe it's a thumb, some part of his arm. And then Acuna's not playing baseball tonight as well. And also two teams that strike out a ton. And I guess that's kind of one of the places we'll start as far as pitchers. I think Wheeler and Morton. Typically, I don't like to pick on either one of these offenses, but we know Atlanta strikes out a ton. I think their K rate is over 25% against righties. The lineup they're rolling out today, I actually have that pulled up on the old Plate IQ. If you look at it, the last 2 seasons, 25.1%. You want to look at it just this season, we're talking about 24.8%. The only guy is Darno at 19.3. That's the lowest guy as far as striking out versus righties. Wheeler this year at 28.3%. The walks are in check as well. And on the other side of that game, Old Man Morton's got his Ks up to 26.7%, which, and again, this Philadelphia lineup, 24.1% strikes out a ton. We'll talk about Rodon in a second. But, Tim, I think this is kind of an interesting starting point as far as a slate. Or you just want to give me the whole screenshot. Do you think these pitchers are interesting? We're going to go pitchers first, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. I think Rodon is kind of like the don't overthink it kind of play of the day. Especially on like Fanduel, where I think it's a little easier to get some more of the high-end bats that you want. So, I think just like the overall like trouble that I'm having is SP2 on DK. Like you could pay up to Wheeler or Robbie Ray, but that then you only have like 3,700 per bat. And on this big of a slate, I think you're going to need a big number if you want to finish in the top, 1% of a GPP. You're going to need a big number. So I don't know. Like, I'm not crazy about Wheeler today, just because of the price. Like, just because he's the most expensive guy, and I want to play Rodon, so I don't think I can do double barrel.
Your answer is JP Sears.
Well, yeah, I mean. That's one. I like Shane Baz, and I think that you have to consider Patrick Corbin.
Look at us, Tim. You lost me.
Yeah, I think you have to consider Patrick Corbin if you're making 20 or more teams.
Who was Paul Rudd talking to TJ when he said, "Look at us"? Who was he talking to? You know the GIF, right?
It's the Hot Wings guy. The Hot Ones guy.
That's who he's talking to. Yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah. I knew that's what you're going with. I wasn't sure if it was the best friends you're going to go with, but yeah. Sears, pitcher for the Yankees in the minors. The Ks are awesome. The walks are even good. He's facing a terrible Oakland team. I know Oakland got 1 inning off of him. Even Elvis Anderson had like a base clearing double, which never happens. He gave out 5 or 6 runs in an inning, Montgomery. Otherwise, he was fine. This Oakland lineup's still terrible. They are just as good as they were yesterday, and I'm not afraid of them. the pitch count, we're looking at maybe 75, 80 pitches or so. They didn't push him too much in the minors, which makes him a little more palatable for me on DK because, well, FanDuel, it's a little bit easier to make stuff work. And also, from a salary perspective, and also, I don't know if he's getting that quality start. It seems pretty unlikely he goes 6 unless he's crazy efficient. I have not figured it out, Tim, as far as, double barrel, but I like the idea. I always like to start with that as a goal, but I'm also going to be flexible and like, how much does that hurt my bats? There are some cheap Pittsburgh guys we'll talk about, like if you want to make stuff work. I think the dude for Texas is still like Josh Smith leading off. And then the other thing is you're kind of risking is like, well, everybody goes double barrel is just going to fall back on Josh Smith, and they're going to fall back on maybe a Chavis or maybe a Diego Castillo. You got the big boy rookie for Kansas City, 2K on DK, Pasquantino. He's like 18 homers in the minors this year against John Gray. Again, if you want to flat out punt first base, I don't think that's completely crazy. But that's just kind of sort of run that risk, Tim. I know we don't play in these massive contests. That's not how we're building our lineups. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure where I'm going to be.
I am taking a shot at that 2,500 30 max though. So, I mean, that's going to be tough for me to win with one team, but I am going to try it. I am going to play. So I'm not going to be as like conservative as I normally would be.
Is that a million that's like top loaded? I think it is, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't usually play that, but I'm going to give it a shot tonight because I'm bored. So I'm going to try for that one. But, so I'm going to be a little bit maybe like riskier than I normally would be. But
the contest dictates that you're supposed to be.
Exactly. That's exactly right. The one thing that I do want to say about Corbin versus Sears is, the pitch count. The bat has Corbin at 101 and Sears at 80. That's a pretty massive difference, and Corbin's cheaper. So I understand this projection just merely on the fact of projected pitch count. I tagged Corbin today. I'm not crazy about that, but I think that just due to his low salary, it allows you to do so much. So I don't know. I know that's not a very good sell job, but I think if you're making 20 more teams, you should definitely be in your player pool.
So I'll give you a little more sales pitch. And look, I'm throwing up in my mouth as I'm saying this because I ranked Corbin on DK as well, too. We ranked pitchers dollar for dollar. Now, I ranked him 7th. I got him behind Rodon. I got him behind Wheeler, behind Sears, behind Morton, behind Ray, behind Gallen. I think I got Baz right behind him. But this Pittsburgh lineup these days is pretty left-handed, right? There are a fair bit of switch hitters, too, but there's a lot of Ks. The strikeouts there, outside of Hayes leading off 11.3%, the next guy, well, you got Heineman, the catcher, but I don't really believe at 13%. I think that's kind of fraudulent. We can sort of stretch that back to a previous season. The point is there are theoretically Ks there. Of course, Corbin is horrendous, but he also can eat innings. Like they will keep him out there. Sometimes even to get his face punched in, just because why not? They're paying this guy millions of dollars, just eat some innings. We're going nowhere anyway. Save the bullpen an extra inning or so. It's not a comfortable feeling. Is kind of, and I feel like you stressed that correctly. No way I'm playing him on FanDuel, but maybe I'm going to make 8 lineups. I think on DK. Maybe he gets the one. Maybe. Ideally, no, but maybe. That's the endorsement.
The other issue is that Corbin's like, we talk about that you're going to need a ton of raw points tonight because the slate is so big. Like even if you get a good start from Corbin, he might only get you like 15 points. So that might not be enough. So, I mean, it's really tough because I understand this projection on the bat, but it's incredibly, it's makes you nervous to roster him for sure.
Oh, I'm just seeing it now. He's got a nice. Carty is going to be on later, and he's going to be touting with some Patrick Corbin. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'll get you in a second, TJ. But if you're playing on DK, Tim, if you tell me I'm getting 15 points, Patrick Corbin, no more, no less, I am playing him. And in theory, you make up the difference with a homer, and that's it. We're good to go. Maybe like you said, a lot of points will be scored. Some pitching combinations will put up, 60. So 15 isn't necessarily optimal, but it opens up the door. If the big bats, have a good time tonight, we live in the world of a salary cap. You've heard this before, right?
I mean, that is the case for Corbin. He's projected for 17.6 points on the bat. Like if he gets that, then then that's what you want. I mean, that's what you want if you're going to be stacking the Dodgers or stacking any of the, or the Blue Jays or whoever you want to stack. It's just, if I was playing like my regular, more conservative style this evening, I don't think I'd take such a hard look at Corbin. I don't think I'd want to pitch him in like a cash game type setting or a smaller field single entry. But I don't know. I think it's worth a shot tonight because the Pirates are just so bad against lefties.
I'm trying to see what our ownership is on DK because I wonder how we're giving him 11%. You think that's about right? Yeah, that might. I don't know. And what do you guys
think Corbin, to be honest, is going to be a little higher than 11, and that's why I'm more interested in playing the Pittsburgh bats than I am Corbin today. I just looked at a DK build. I just made a team. I think it's definitely a double pay up at pitching day today.
Well, Pittsburgh's cheap. Like you can stack Pittsburgh and get two big arms, and I assume that's what you did.
You can 5-man stack the Dodgers and get two big arms
because the Dodgers aren't really the Dodgers, but they are in Coors, right? They're kind of the Dodgers. They're not really.
I mean, I have Trey Turner and Chris Taylor in the lineup,
and you have Trace Thompson.
Yeah, and Zach Wheeler and Carlos Rodon.
Yeah. I'm okay with Trace Thompson at 2K. He's got power. That's good enough for me. And he's in Coors Field. He might strike out 3 times. Who cares? You take your chances. But, that's an interesting approach. And I didn't mean to neglect you there, TJ. I know you tend to focus mostly on FanDuel, but I guess you're jumping around playing both sides today?
Yeah, well, I just kind of wanted to look at it. I like to have an idea of DK to make sure I'm not just kind of spouting nonsense when I'm up here. And so I definitely don't play near high dollars or anything like that. But just putting one team in as we're talking, I think the play today is the double pay up because it's not that hard to do. It's not that hard to do at all.
I think that's where my brain's going to go to. General rules, arms are generally more predictive than bats, that kind of thing. Oh, Eric in chat is saying Corbin's prop today for Ks is 4.5. Is that too low, or is that the bats got him at like 5.5 for the record? I think that's a good over bet at 4.5. Good Lord, am I endorsing Corbin?
Yeah, Corbin's at 5.69 on the bat, so that's a full strikeout over.
4.5 seems a little too low.
I wonder what the juice is on that.
That's a good question. I'm not really sure. If it's on PrizePicks, there's no juice, obviously. The numbers are the numbers, and that's that. Their odds are a little bit different, of course, but you want to take advantage of basically buying yourself minus 140s and that kind of thing. And I would imagine there's got to be some juice on the over there, but don't know.
Yeah, it's minus 145 on DK.
Okay, yeah. Would you bet that still?
It's pretty close. I would strongly consider it. We have Corbin on Slate IQ at 16.4% in the optimal lineup tonight, and 13% owned. So he is coming in with positive leverage. However, JP Sears is at 21% in the winning lineup and even higher positive leverage. So Sears is probably the better play, but I think it's pretty close.
Well, it sounds like, I assume, TJ, your preference is Sears, so you actually want to pick on Corbin if you're going to, but you also want a double barrel. Like, I guess you can go either way. It depends how you want to build the rest of your lineup, obviously. But if you're going cheap, you're taking Sears.
Yeah, that's exactly how I'm feeling today. And even on FanDuel, Sears is one. I'm keeping a very tight pitching pool today. It's a 15-game slate, and I have 9 pitchers. And Sears is going to be one of them today. The Pittsburgh Pirates are going to be my 8th highest owned stack, even on FanDuel.
I see the chat. Cloud, I apologize. Okay, guys, you're hurting my ears with all this Corbin talk. I hear you. You're right. I mean, look, I don't feel good saying it. I feel just as bad. So just want to throw that out there. Anyone on Woodruff? We're not playing. How many pitches we're not going to get a full allotment, right? I assume not. TJ, what are we expecting out of maybe 80 pitches or so? What does the bat have projected for Woodruff? I don't think I'm going there in his first start back.
Yeah, I guess it has been over a full month that he's been out. Hey, that's actually not something I realized. What does the bat have him projected for pitches right now?
89.
Okay, I thought it'd be a little lower than that. 74 pitches his last outing in the minors. Did have 7 Ks according to Shannon in chat.
All right, yeah, he was in my pool, and I'm keeping him in my pool. As it stands right now, I'm getting to 5% Woodruff, and at his low price on FanDuel, there, I'm more than okay taking a shot on 5% Woodruff.
Thoughts on Freeland and Kershaw? Eric's asking. I mean, TJ, you want to endorse any of the pitchers today in Coors?
No, sir.
Tim?
No.
We want to endorse Patrick Corbin. We don't want to endorse Clayton Kershaw. No context to that.
Kershaw's projected for 76 pitches, and he's $10,000. Like, I'm all set. I don't think he has the ceiling, even if he is, pitching well. I don't think he has the ceiling really for that to matter at 10,000.
I was watching his last start when he went 6 innings, 6 really solid innings against Cincinnati, and it looked like he went to Roberts in the dugout and just said, "I'm done." And they were up big; it was a big lead, but it almost looked like he said, "Like I'm good." Like that's an interpretation. I don't know if they clarified after the game or not, but yeah, he threw 80 pitches, and the Dodgers have eyes on the World Series. They don't care about Game 70 in Coors Field, right? Doesn't mean they're not going to push him. Is essentially how it's going to go. And Kershaw, obviously. History of injuries. I
think you're getting way too cute going with Kershaw.
Yeah, that's kind of it's pretty simple.
I think on DK you just play Wheeler and Rodon together. If you want to go down, you play Baz or you play Sears. If you're as crazy as Tim and Carty, you can play Corbin. That's not where I'd go, but Charlie Morton's definitely interesting in GPPs too. The one thing I want to say is we're at 50 likes. That means it's time for Spidey Bomb number 1. We also got almost 300 people watching, so free content. Hit the like button, and Spidey Bomb number 1 may be the chalkiest of the bunch, but he hasn't been very good lately, and the Dodgers also let people down last night. I don't think they're going to be that crazy chalky today as much as they should be. And so because of that, the first one at 50 likes today is going to be Chris Taylor. Hit the like button for number 2 because they're going to get sneakier and sneakier as we go.
We didn't really talk about Rodon. We just kind of said like he's like the best pitcher, and I think he separates himself amongst his field of there's a lot of good options. TJ, tell me why Rodon is the top pitcher tonight.
He seems to be back to his old self. He's playing a not very good team. He's got a better matchup to me today than any of the other top pitchers on the board. I'd rather pick on Detroit than Atlanta or Philly, even though they got those same high strikeout upsides. They got a little less danger. So Rodon's the top guy on the board. He's going to be chalky, but he's not expensive. He's easy to get to, especially on FanDuel. I have a 9-pitcher pool today, and I have Rodon in 40% of my lineups.
Tim, you feel basically the same?
Yeah, I do think that. I don't know if we touched on Robbie Ray, though.
I don't want to talk about Robbie Ray. I don't know.
You don't want to talk about Robbie Ray?
I just don't know what to do with him. I have nothing good to offer. I don't know is my answer. I don't know what to do with Robbie Ray. You tell me.
Well, honestly, that's who I'm considering if I don't go down. That's who I'm considering playing is Rodon and Ray. Like, I don't think that I'm going to be playing Wheeler or Gallen or Manaea. So that's who I'm considering. And I'm hoping that I get that spike game from him. I mean, he's projected for, I believe, about 7.5 strikeouts tonight. So, I mean, I just think that I think he's a great tournament play on both sites. So he's one of my favorite pitchers on the board.
Let's run down the ownership stuff. I'll take a look at DK first. And Rodon, not surprisingly, it's a huge slate. 30 pitchers throwing baseballs. He's grabbing 40% of the ownership. That's a huge number against Detroit, but I think it's justified. Next is Wheeler at 23%, Ray at 23%. I don't know if I love Robbie Ray at 23%. Sears at 13, 14. Corbin is next at 11. Morton at 9. Like, Morton's fine. Again, that Philadelphia lineup is not that great when you take Harper out of there. Gallen's pretty good. Is Machado maybe coming back tonight? There's rumors of him possibly coming back. They never threw him on the IL, to my understanding. And this is like 7 or 8 games in a row. Like, they had to think he was going to come back within 10. just having him sit on their basically taking up a spot. So I think there's a chance we see Machado tonight. Gallon at 9, Manaea at 9, Castillo against those Cubbies, Woodruff at 5. I love Framber Valdez, but probably not tonight. Baz at 5. He's another guy that, K potential, but they only let him go so far. Gray, I'm surprised to see only at 4% against KC. I saw somebody mentioning in chat about Gray being a good play on Yahoo. I don't know what he's priced at over there, but if you get him distinctly cheap and he gets you all the bats, like if he's like a punt SP2, I'm okay with that. Anything sort of weird to you, TJ, as far as those ownerships there? Is anything kind of stand out, like maybe too high, too low, or you would take a specific stand one way or the other?
Not overly. Like the guy, like I am perfectly fine eating the Rodon chalk today. That's the one, like over any of the other top guys who are picking up ownership. I'm just perfectly good eating it. Anybody else, I'd probably look to get off of. Some of the guys, like, it's not crazy ownership, but even like the Patrick Corbin's picking up 10 to 15 on a 15-game slate. I think that's too much. I honestly don't mind the idea of taking a shot on somebody like John Gray in tournaments. He's in my pool. I don't mind that at all. So, like, there are players like Gray that are not picking up any ownership that have high upside, but the far majority of my pool is going to be Rodon, then mixing in some Zach Wheeler, Robbie Ray, Charlie Morton.
This Royals team is not the Royals team of a week ago, whatever it was. Of course, Sal Perez is out for possibly the season. They just traded away Carlos Santana as well. Like, he's not a good hitter really these days, but he'll make contact. I'm just checking to see what this dude, Vinny Pasquantino, he had a lot of power in the minors. I'm just curious how contact heavy he is. Does swing from the left-hand side. In the minors, he struck out at 12.2%. 12.5% walks and 12.2%. That's pretty interesting.
He's a high contact guy.
And he hits homers too. Hits dingers. Fourth ranked prospect on the team, 95 overall in all baseball, according to Fangraphs. He's 2K on DK. Again, he's one of those guys that I have no idea. I just learned about the guys like 2 days ago. But he 24-year-old prospect, I guess you can do worse, I suppose. But I thought he would have a bunch of strikeouts. I think he's kind of Vogelbach-like, and not that. He's 6'4", 245. So don't want to give him the Vogelbach tag. He's not a Team Girth member just yet, but we'll see. It's a bit of a tryout. Tim, did anything stand out for you as far as the ownership stuff I ran down on DK? And it sounds like you're making some stands as well. And there's a lot of good pitchers that just aren't going to get played because that's just the nature of the slate. Like, I think Framber Valdez is good, but don't see myself getting there. Just that, there's so many other options. I don't know why I want to mess with it, but I'm not picking on him either.
That's the kind of the way that I feel about, Sean Manaea too. I mean, I think he's a really good pitcher, but I won't even bother going to him tonight. I think I would leave him off. Same thing with Zach Gallen. Again, he's a really good pitcher. I mean, most nights you'd be highly, considering both of those guys. But with Rodon, Ray, and Wheeler at the top, and then you have this kind of pretty juicy mid-range, those guys kind of get squeezed for me.
Schoolball's been rough of late. I love Schoolball long-term, but he's just – and I've watched his last several starts. He's in a rut, I think. And that's not like analysis, but there's no reason as far as I can see to get there.
Can we pin that on the screen?
Say it again?
Can we pin that on the screen? Schoolball in rut, says Dean.
Top shot, top-notch analysis here. Hey, I see who's
top shot in rut, says Dean.
Officially rattled now.
We got over 300 people watching. Hit the like button. I want to get 150s today because I really like my next two Spidey bombs. I'm eating the chalk with Dodgers today, but my second and third stacks I don't think are going to be all that chalky. So hit the like button because I want to dish out these home run plays.
It's going to be a pirate. One of those twos is going to be a pirate. Spoiler alert. Is that a yes or a no? Was that a?
That's a no. That's a buzzer. That's like a you got it wrong buzzer.
So somebody in chat just drew out Montas. Several people are talking about Montas, and I like Montas. He's really good. Maybe he's auditioning for the Yankees. He's almost definitely not going to be on the Athletics for much longer. He's probably going to be traded somewhere. Are the Blue Jays in the market for an arm?
I hope so.
Dude, the Barrios contract already looks like an absolute disaster. What's going on there? Was that small sample stuff or what?
I think so. I hope so. It's exciting that Gaussman seems to have figured it back out again. What I love about Gaussman is he's just a vet. Like when he's screwing up, he's like, yeah, I'm screwing up. Here's what happened. I'm gonna try and fix it. And he had this like big clown looking glove on his hand yesterday and during the game against Boston, and he was talking about how he had to practice slapping ground balls down because he couldn't field the ground balls with the gigantic glove. But his strikeouts were back. He was back limiting hits and hard contact, so he realized he's tipping his pitches and he's going to work on it. And Barrios is a vet as well. I'm sure he'll come around. And in the meantime, riding Gaussman and Manoah.
Yeah, I did see some speculation that he was tipping pitches, and I guess that can kind of explain why he had he was in a rut as well for a bit as far as a stretch. But what about Frankie Montas, Tim? And again, people just aren't going to play him. This Yankee lineup, there's no Stanton, which is like good and bad, right? Because Stanton bangs out homers, but he also strikes out a ton. Trevino, what a world, is batting 5th for the Yankees these days. IKF is not very good. Hicks is not very good. Gallo, you love seeing Gallo in the lineup, buried in the 9-hole, and all his strikeouts. Sure, of course, in theory, he can hit a couple homers out too. But nobody's playing Montas. If you have a 20-man pool, if you're entering the 20-man contest, Tim, does Montas crack one of those lineups? He should, right? I feel like he should crack one.
I think that's fine. I wouldn't get too crazy with it, but I think if you wanted to add him, he's going to be about 3% owned, and we got him in the odds 6%. So that's really good leverage, actually. So I think, just like you said, 1 out of 20, that's 5%. That's overweight for your portfolio against the field. That's fine. Maybe you go up to 2 out of 20. It's
fine. I'm putting Montas in my pool.
Yeah, why not? Are you making 150?
I am.
Yeah, you give him a little sprinkling. Show him a little bit of love.
Definitely, if you're making 150. Yeah.
What do you think? Should I try and get at least 5%?
That's what I would do. That's what I would set mine at, is like maybe 7%, and that's
minimum 5, maximum 8.
Yeah, because that way it'll be double the field.
Showboat King and chat.
Redoing our 150.
Do all the RG hosts live in igloo homes? I don't know who is that. Are we all wearing like hoodies? I think TJ is wearing one. What are you wearing, Tim?
I'm wearing a polo shirt, a golf shirt.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, and TJ, is it cold there? Or you're not in an igloo? I know stereotypically.
I was sweating when I got home because it's about 95 Fahrenheit today, and I was running around trying on suits, stuff like that. So when I got home, I fired up the AC, and then I got a little chilly, so I bundled back up. I like being comfy and cozy,
I just like the pockets. I like having pocket access. That's the big perk of wearing a hoodie for me. So yeah, that's the main reason why I'm always wearing them, I suppose. But
my dog's got a hold of this one, and now it has some funny holes in it.
Well, you got to get that long. You got to get that dog in line. Show him who's boss.
Yeah, it slipped it. They pulled it into their kennel. I left it too close. It was both of our faults.
You got like some bones for him to distract him, or how does that work?
So tough. Like, they don't like eating things while they're in their kennel, like food, but then they get so stressed out when they're alone for too long, and unfortunately too long is like an hour for them, that they just like rip up whatever is inside of their kennel. So that's why I typically use like very, very low price blankets and stuff as they're in there as cushions, because they don't last too long.
White Sox lineup is out, and Yohan Moncada is back. Anderson leading off, Vaughn, Robert, Abreu, Sheets, Moncada, Laurie Garcia, Zavala, and Josh Harrison versus Silseth. Is there anything else we need to talk about as far as pictures? We didn't really touch on FanDuel. We'll give the rundown as well. I kind of gave the ownership rundown on DK. TJ, I'll throw it to you and see. You said you have 8, 9, maybe 10 guys at this point as far as in your 150 pool. The ownership is going to kind of sort of mirror the DK to some extent. Rodon at 27%, so that's even greater than half. Wheeler at 20, and I think those two are the two best options, and they're the most expensive as well. And again, it's not that FanDuel's salary structure is pretty easy to make stuff work. The Sears one kind of throws me off at 6K just because I don't know if I need all that money, and I don't really think he's going to throw that quality start. Ray at 8%, Morton at 5%, Corbin at 5%, Castillo at 3, and it's just interesting that Woodruff 2, Manaea 2, Gallen 2. Like maybe, I mean, look, you tell me, but in my head, I would probably go like 6 or 7 on Gallen and maybe 4 or 5 on Manaea and just get double the field on those just because they're pretty good and they probably shouldn't be 2%. What is your approach to running out 150 as far as your pitchers, TJ? I know you said you like 40% Rodon, which I like as well.
So I have no Manaea, and who was the other one again you said?
Gallen?
I have no Manaea and no Gallen tonight. I don't disagree with the idea of going double the field on them at all. I've just chosen some other people to do that with. I've adjusted some things, and I'm up to 50% Carlos Rodon. I want to get well over the field on him. I got him in half of my 150 right now. He's in 73 of 150. And the other pitchers in my pool going in kind of in order of ownership, but I don't have a single other player over 10%. It's Baz, Wheeler, Sears, Morton, Gray, Ray, Montas, Woodruff, Silseth.
All right. And like I see people in the chat talking about Patrick Corbin, and I know we kind of sort of halfway endorsed him. And no way I don't want my name on that. Nobody puts baby in a corner. I do not want an endorsement.
Can we get
Patrick
Dean
Corbin
endorses Patrick Corbin on the screen, please?
I endorse Patrick Swayze before I endorse Patrick Corbin. But I may get him on one of my DK lineups. But yes, he's not very good. But like these guys even bad pitchers will run into some good games, and this Pittsburgh lineup's not terribly imposing. He's cheap, yada, yada, yada. Tim, give me your finalized thought as far as pitchers.
Yeah, so it's Rodon at the top, both sites. I think if I was I'd have to go over 20 teams on FanDuel to get away from Rodon. I think he's just too good of a play, and if he's only going to be like 27% owned, I'm going to want to be way over that. I like Robbie Ray quite a bit for tournaments on both sites. I like JP Sears on DK. I like Patrick Corbin. And I like Shane Baz. Those are probably my favorite guys on DK.
TJ, Michael in chat's asking about, you're talking about 50% on FanDuel, correct? That's my understanding.
Yes.
Okay, just to clarify. And give me your thoughts. So, talk about your pool. If you want to unleash all 9, 10 players, whatever it is, you don't have to give your percentages, obviously, but feel free to let them know who's in the pool, who's out of the pool, who's in the fringe, who's playing Marco Polo. What do you have for me?
Yeah, so that's the list that I just went through. The Rodon, Baz, Wheeler, Sears, Morton, Gray, Ray, Montas, Woodruff, Silseth. That's my entire pool on FanDuel today.
Well, wait, Silseth. How does he have pool permission? Silseth?
He has pool permission because he has shown upside before, and the White Sox have a decent amount of strikeouts in their lineup. 0% of people are going to play him. A lot of people are going to be playing the Dodgers today, so I'll be able to have a lineup with Trey Turner and Freddie Freeman, and I can go 1 to 4, and maybe I can even mix in some other guys like Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani in my lineup today. And this is actually a very low strikeout White Sox lineup. So I said they got some high strikeouts in there. It's actually not that high, but he's super duper cheap. And we've already spent too long talking about a guy that I have in 2 of 150.
Kick him out completely. You say he's got K upside. And there's 30 pitches thrown baseballs today. He's the 3rd lowest K rate, 15.5%.
Yeah, but it's in a ridiculously low sample size, and he had a game where he had 0 Ks that he got lit up off the starts. He had another game that he got kicked out in the first inning, but he also had a game against Oakland where he dropped a 40 piece and pitched 6 innings. So he's super cheap, and I'm willing to put him in one of my 150 lineups. It's a $3 contest today. I don't care if I waste $6.
Yeah, but what if you have the nuts, right? As far as the hitters, and like Silseth is the guy that blows. I understand when you get the nuts because you're playing Silseth. But isn't he like the same price as Corbin or the dude for the Yankees? I assume
he's $100 cheaper than Sears, and he's the same price as Sears, and I can tell you, any team I have Sears on, it's going to be almost the exact same team with Silseth.
Yeah, fair enough. Tim, you got a Silseth.
I'm totally willing to burn $3 on a cheap pitcher to pick up expensive batters in case he gets lucky. Like, I'm good with that. He's played 5 games this year, and he had 40 FanDuel points in one of them. I will burn 4 games and he has 40 FanDuel points in one of them. I am totally okay with burning $3 for the prospective chance of winning $30K if he does it again.
Yeah, Showboat in chat. Like, I'm being a jerk. Like, apparently, he says, "Come on, Dean, just let TJ play him." Yeah, no, please, by all means. I know, like, I'm not gonna sway you. Like, you just play who you want to play, man. And this is your much play of the night. There you go, still Seth.
Yeah, and like I don't like him. I'm playing him in 2 of 150, but sure. TJ endorses Silseth.
I want to see. You know how we have scrolls now on the bottom, like all out of context scrolls. Patrick Corbin good, Kershaw bad, TJ loves Silseth. Just put it on the scrolls, with no context, no explanation. And I'm sure the people are like, look at these dopes. Hey, you know what? If you think I am like the biggest dope in the world, which is fine, you can think that. You know what you can do? You can challenge me. You can say, hey, I'm going to play you in a head-to-head, and if you beat me in a head-to-head, no, I got to select you. We're running this thing. I'm getting into a deal. I'm going to drop the link in the YouTube chat if you guys aren't aware, letting the people know. You take me on in a head-to-head challenge. Be as creative as you want. Answer that Twitter, that little tweet. Respond to it. Use the hashtag. Now, some people get this hashtag wrong. Beat mean meat.
Dean's meat.
No, well, no. See, that's a common mistake. That's the one that I've heard. That's the one that I've seen, and that's
Naked HD is saying it in chat. It confused me, but oh wow, look at that picture. I definitely endorse that.
Wait, is there a picture of it? I haven't seen a picture yet.
Oh yeah, you got to put it out. You got to pull your screen up right now because that is some fantastic production.
Oh no, that is disturbing.
Steve.
We
might have to play some Mets tonight for Steve just because he put that picture up there. Might have to put an Alonso Lindor mini stack in.
Oh yeah, so this will not be going down tonight. Obviously, we're gonna be taking submissions the next couple days. We're probably gonna do it on Friday. Feel free to be as creative as you want. Not necessarily R-rated, but you can go there. You feel free to talk some smack, have a good time with it. And yeah, the most creative. I'll just pick somebody at random. We'll see how that goes down. But we're gonna challenge somebody. You get, if you beat me, 50-50 shot in theory. You got a 1 week free. 1 week free. RotoGrinders Premium. You get all the baseball stuff we're talking about, everything we're showing off here, all the tools. You get Cheese's article, you get Cards' article on the weekend. You get projections, ownership. You get the optimizer. You get PGA. You get MMA. You get everything with the exception of NASCAR. No, I would say you get NFL, but there's no NFL going on. You get it, but there's nothing you can do with it. Nothing there. But yeah, also you get a RotoGrinders t-shirt. Those are pretty comfortable too. So it's a whole package deal. Feel free to challenge me. Use that hashtag, and we're gonna pick somebody probably on Thursday. And it's going to go down. It's going to go down on Friday. And this is me calling you out. I'm calling you out, Zach in chat. Both of my RG shirts are cursed. I don't know what happened to them. Did they get ripped or something like that? You can get another one for sure. Kenneth. Come on, Kenneth. Bring it.
I need some RG swag. The only fantasy type shirt I have is a Fanduel one that they sent me in the mail. I don't have any RG stuff. I gotta get on that.
If you want, I got a number. I got a guy. I can hook you up. I know somebody.
Get your people to call my people. And there's some new people watching on YouTube too. We got 330 people watching. If you hit the like button, we're only 11 away from Spidey Bomb number 2. And this is somebody freshly in my 1 DK lineup.
It's Eric's asking if it's a $1 head-to-head. First of all, I'm not allowed to be in the $1 head-to-heads. That's a humble brag. Yeah, I can't do $1 head-to-heads. But it's just going to be a $0 one. I'll create it and I'll send it to you. It's a $0 one, but you can't put a price on a RotoGrinders t-shirt. You can't put a price on bragging rights to beating me and going on the Dean's list. You can't put a price. I guess you could. On 1 week free to RG Premium. Well, that's free, right? Is that the price? Tim, do you have shirts? Do you know a guy?
For RotoGrinders shirts?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yep. I got some RotoGrinders. I need some more though. I want more swag from RG, like a hat or a hoodie,
Look, I'm fully just going to embrace the shade that Kirk Dees has been throwing my way, calling me a grifter, trying to get wedding presents and trying to get tattoos. So RG, I need more swag. Somebody was wondering what they got to do in chat to hashtag beat meet TJ. You can just buy a wedding present and then we can work something out. We'll send some head-to-heads. That tattoo, I'm my producer. He's in the middle of creating it as we speak. Kirk Dees was half right. He wasn't 100% right.
You're kind of a grifter?
No, not in general, no. I just like to joke around on these things, but I have thought about getting a tattoo before. It wasn't something like I wanted and was planning for. I've thought about it, and So as soon as that offer was on the table, I was like, all right, heck yes, let's do it.
In chat, when is the next lowball contest? John's asking. Well, we'll run that again. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I believe I finished second out of like 50 or so I found my niche. There's no financial gain in that. It's a weird thing to be good at.
I think I would have won all the money in that last night.
Yeah, my teams are pretty rough. Yeah, Kirby?
My DK team had 22 points. I don't remember anything lower than that ever in my life.
Kid Catastrophe in chat says RG banana hammocks would go crazy. Like the Borat style, is that what we're talking about? I don't know if those will be flying off the shelves, but we could send one of those to you, TJ, if you want.
Sure.
Give
me a nice RG sleeveless, and I'll wear that on stream. It'll really boost up the likes,
Sure.
We finally have hit over 100 likes, so thank you to everybody who did that. Free content. Keep hitting that button. Let's get a third Spidey bomb today. Number 2, Ian Happ, my second highest owned stack today. The Chicago Cubs. Castillo's picking up some ownership. He's popping in projections a little bit because he's cheap, and I love the Cubs today. And Ian Happ's going to hit himself a homer.
Speaking of stacks, let's talk about the bats. I'm looking at our consensus value rankings as far as our stacks today. No surprise, Dodgers number 1. Consensus rankings, this is myself, Grant, Curtis, Dave Potts. Cheese is good. Dodgers, St. Louis, Toronto, Angels, Texas, and Pittsburgh. What's interesting is that 30 teams are playing, and it's basically the same 5 teams. One person gave a shout out to Pittsburgh, which I understand. But otherwise, it's the same 5 teams, which is kind of strange, TJ. And ownership, again, if you're going to play players not in those teams, like you're going to get crazy ownership numbers, like just crazy low. That's just how it goes down. That's how math works. But do you agree with that list? I know you mentioned the Cubs. Cubs not on there. Other side of that game, Reds not on there with the Winds. Dodgers, St. Louis, Toronto, your Blue Jays, LA, that's the Angels, Texas, and Pittsburgh. What say you about that list?
I have 3 of my top stacks are on that list. Toronto is 4th, St. Louis is 5th, and believe it or not, the Angels are 6th. And then Cincinnati is my 3rd highest owned stack. Cubs are number 2.
Tim, your thoughts as far as the stacks here?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Dodgers are the best team, like in a vacuum, if you're not concerned about ownership or anything like that. I really like the Rangers today. I really like the Angels today. I think this. I'm not sure.
Rangers. I had that before. I got to get them back in. I agree with you. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all right. That's all right. Obviously we should talk about Pittsburgh because we talked about how much we love Patrick Corbin. So I mean I think that's like a great game to have both sides of if you're making a lot of teams tonight, because I could see a world that he gets absolutely obliterated, and the Pirates are so cheap. So I think that's fine. I really
like my stack percentages today. Texas already is my 6th most. I'm with you there. The one I'm scared about being underweight on today, and really the only one, is the Yankees.
You don't have the Yankees, or you do?
I have 2% of my the Yankees are in my pool, but among my lowest owned stacks, and that does worry me a little bit.
The Yankees were my favorite team for low dollar GPPs, like for leverage and survey today, just because I think there's always merit to having the Yankees, and if they're just going to be the forgotten team, then that's great for like one of those low dollar 50,000 entrance type tournaments. I think I'm making a stand today. I'm going to fade the Dodgers, and I'm going to load up on Cincinnati and Texas.
Is that in part with Will Smith being out, obviously Betts being out, and it's not that great of a lineup, right? Is that having? I'm assuming that's something to do with it. Obviously, the ownership's going to be pretty extravagant as well, especially in guys like the Turners. What's influencing that take?
I just think that the Dodgers are going to be a little bit over-owned today. I'm not, and of course it is. You're absolutely right. That lineup is a little bit watered down. So I think that John Heasley for the Royals really struggles against lefties, and like a guy like I think it's John Heim at catcher, Seager, Cole Calhoun. I really like that bunch right there.
Just did a refresh on Weather Edge, and I think Kansas City lost its fire emoji. It's still good hitting weather. But yeah, 163 game sample, 20% bump in homers on similar weather games, 84 degrees, wind blowing out to basically dead center, a little to the left at 6 miles per hour, almost a 10% bump in runs as well. 36 game sample as far as the Rockies Coors game. We've seen a bump up 17% homers, and there is a fire emoji there as well. 89 degrees, kind of dead center, 9 miles per hour as far as the wind. Anything else? And the Cub one is not changed, I don't think. No, yeah. 11% dead center, 11 miles per hour dead center, 52% spike in homers in a 170 game sample, 29% spike in runs as well. I wonder, has that line moved at all, or is it still just standing firm at 9? I guess it's standing firm at 9, huh? The Cincinnati-Chicago game as far as the total?
I haven't looked at the total since we started. I did want to mention one thing real quick on our Slate IQ, which talks about DraftKings, kind of like winner versus ownership. Minnesota is really popping in that metric. They have almost a 20% chance being in the winning lineup, and it's only going to be owned 10%. So, I mean, that's really good positive leverage. And they're not really a team that I really thought that much about. So that they could be a sneaky team today.
Especially with them not being on FanDuel, I think I agree. They could definitely just go completely overlooked.
Yeah.
So Pilkington, he's been lucky. He's been lucky this year. His ERA is 3.67, a Sierra 4.49, fly ball percent almost 42%. But you know what his homer in the fly ball is in the season? He's given up 0.33 homers per 9 despite 42% fly balls because his homer in the fly ball rate is 3%. And I feel like that's unsustainable. I feel like that's not going to continue going forward. Is that a reasonable take, Tim?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if that's his homer to fly ball ratio, he's definitely is running good in that department. So I think a lot of things are pointing at the Twins tonight as a GPP team.
All right, let's go around the horn, give our favorite plays, position by position. Again, the Crunch Time crew will be coming in as well. In about 20, 25 minutes or so, you got Grant Neiffer hosting, and we'll talk to Grant, but Grant's been on fire on Scores and Odds, like for real. Like, his homer picks have been incredible, and I look at his ROA stuff. I'm on his Scores and Odds show several times a week, and as much as I don't want to give Grant a compliment, he's been awesome. He's been making a lot of money. His Action Lounge has been popping as well, too. We'll go ahead and drop that in chat if you guys are not aware how that works with Scores and Odds. But, it's also going to be DerekCarty, who probably gives an endorsement of Patrick Corbin. We'll see. And then STL Cards joining that show as well. Round the horn. I'm going to give the short straw of catcher to TJ. Yeah, you're on.
How about you give it to the guy who's the DK guy?
You know what?
Yeah.
That is a good override. Good call.
Yeah.
Austin
Barnes is your cash game catcher today. If you're only playing cash, 2,600. Jonah Heim is my favorite catcher for tournaments today. I think the Angels lineup is out. I didn't see who was catching, but I like either Stassi or Kurt Suzuki. I'm trying to think who else I would really get to. Also, I have to figure out if Sanchez is in the lineup. Because if he's in, then I would really like him. I know that lineup's out, but I didn't see it.
Sanchez not in it.
Not in it. Okay,
yeah, Jeffers.
So Jeffers might be a decent punt play today. He could be a decent like pivot off of Barnes in tournaments if you don't want to eat that Barnes chalk. I think that's about it. I think Wilson Contreras is a little bit too expensive for me.
So Garber's not playing. Okay, I didn't mean to cut you off, but that was one I thought would be interesting. But yeah, it's going to be Heim, like you said.
Yeah, Heim is he's my favorite GPP catcher.
Barnes 2.6. Like, and the situation calls for it. Like, don't be surprised if he gets pinch hit for by Smith at some point. Like, it's bases loaded and it's a tie game in the 9th. Like, he's coming out, almost definitely. Just throwing that out there. But you do have Trevino batting cleanup. I'm not sure if he said that or not. I was reading something else. You know what I was reading? Not to sidetrack the show, but Naked HD in chat has just challenged me. So, again, I'm not picking anybody right now, but right now, Naked HD might be the clubhouse leader. He's going to challenge me to take me on for a head-to-head, and yeah, sure, bring it on. And his screen name on FanDuel, I don't like the screen name. I don't like it. I'm trying not to be, get my feelings involved. But his screen name is Flopping LeBron. Like, come on, man. Yeah, he's the only guy. He's got the monopoly on flopping. Nobody else does it. TJ, save me. I know you're playing FanDuel. You roster any catchers over there?
I got quite a few in the pool today, but most of them are just going to be completing a stack. The only one I have in any kind of abundance is Wilson Contreras. He's my highest owned one. Yan Gomes is my second highest owned catcher. But other than that, I don't think there's any I'm going to be getting above 5%.
Let's jump to first base. I'll let you start this off, TJ, as far as first baseman today. Votto is really cheap on both sites, and he's in a good ballpark. So he looks like a pretty, maybe if you're playing cash games, I don't mind that. And of course, he shows some upside. He's got some power. He's not necessarily going for his walks and the singles these days. Chavis is like an uber super punt on DK, but of course, there's an opportunity cost as well. Goldie versus a lefty, potential MVP in the National League. Your boy Vlad as well. Ohtani, of course. The Moose. The Moose cracked the lineup. Is Moustakas playing baseball today? I think he is, right?
I believe so. I think he's batting sixth.
Yeah. I mean, he's got some pop in theory still in that bat. No, he's not. Wait, that's Kyle Farmer. I don't see him playing baseball.
Oh, he's not?
Moustakas is not in the lineup.
Okay. Cross him off the list. TJ, first. What do you have?
I don't have anything else. You said all my guys.
Well, tell me who's your favorite amongst that grouping. I didn't say Freddie Freeman. You don't like Freddie Freeman?
Freddie Freeman is tied for my most owned first baseman with, please hit the like button, y'all. I'm trusting you early. We're 38 away, but we're at the position, so I'm just going to say it. And I know we got some trusted people who are going to hit the like button for free content to help us battle the YouTube algorithm and keep this show free. It's Joey Votto. Joey Votto's hitting a dinger today. He might hit two. Joey Votto, Chris Taylor, and Ian Happ, and Votto and Freddie Freeman are tied for my highest owned player, first baseman on FanDuel today. I'm also getting a lot of Paul Goldschmidt, Vladdy Guerrero, some Juan Yepes in there, and Michael Chavis as well. But that's somebody I like getting a little bit better, a little more on second or third on FanDuel where he's eligible. In tournaments, I'm like quite a bit lower owned guys that I like as one-offs or as part of stacks. Jared Walsh as well as CJ Cron.
Tim?
Yeah, I wrote down Jared Walsh as my favorite, like under the radar home run call today. So I really like that play in tournaments. Joey Votto is probably your cash game lineup unless you're like, doing something like different at pitching and can get to Freeman in cash games. Freeman, obviously, great play. The Angels are in a really good spot. So putting Shohei Ohtani, going like Ohtani, Walsh, Trout, you can do that pretty easily. And then Michael Chavis, min price, and I think he's 2,500 on FanDuel. And the thing about Chavis on FanDuel is that he's tri-positional eligibility. So he's kind of valuable as a punt over there.
Chavis is probably my favorite first baseman on DK.
Who is?
Chavis is probably my favorite one on DK.
Yeah, I like the other 2K guy as well. I've talked myself into some Vinny Pasquantino. It's also 2K on DK versus John Gray. Bad ballpark environment theoretically, historically, but a little bit better with the way the weather is today in KC. Making his, I believe this is his MLB debut, so get excited about that. Let's talk about second baseman, the old keystone position. Tim, I'm not going to say anybody. I'm not going to steal any of your names. I'm just going to throw it to you. You tell me you like it second.
Jonathan India is my favorite second baseman today. Obviously there's Max Muncy. He's pretty cheap on FanDuel. I think that there's something wrong with him. Like, I don't know. Like, I understand that he's going to be high owned. I understand that he's got the best raw projection, but I just don't think that I'd get too carried away with him in tournaments. He's not somebody that I honestly want to play in cash games. I'd rather just go down to Jonathan India, as weird as that sounds.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I saw something that Machado not in the lineup today. That the Padres lineup just dropped, but that I could have said that afterwards. I don't know why I cut you off. Go ahead, continue.
That's okay. I always like Whit Merrifield. I think he's a really, really steady, like consistent floor type player for cash games. Maybe not for a ceiling, but definitely for cash games. Second base is not great today. Colton Wong is batting, I think, fifth, 700 on DK, and I know it's not the best matchup, but that's really, really cheap for him. So I think if you need a punt, Colton Wong is a good play.
TJ, yourself as far as second base?
So yeah, India is going to be my favorite, and my sixth highest owned second baseman today are all either Dodgers or Reds. It's Lux, it's Muncy, it's Alberto, it's India, it's Drury, and Solano.
What was that? Did you slamming down to emphasize your point, or what just happened there? I heard like a big crash.
Pop. No, that was my phone was standing straight up against something, and it just slid down.
Hoosiers in chat's asking about Minnesota Cleveland not on Yahoo. Probably not. I'm going to guess not because it's the back half of a doubleheader, and I'm assuming they have the same policy at FanDuel. If you can't find anybody in Minnesota and Cleveland, it's not because like you can't do it, because they're not there. As far as Yahoo tonight, we talked about this yesterday, Tim. With Merrifield's, I thought the same thing about him being like steady and fine, but disaster, just a disaster this year. The one key stat, like he's got a 66 WRC plus, which is horrendous. But yeah, historically, unless you think he's just terrible now, which probably not. Yeah,
I don't think he's terrible, but I mean it's tough because I think that like so many positions are loaded today, and second base really isn't. So I mean I think you either want to go down to like Colton Wong or Diego Castillo, or you want to play like Jonathan India. But that game, like we talked about, the weather's so good there. Like I wouldn't be surprised if the Royals, can put up a few runs, and Witt's going to be right there.
That's kind of where I'm at too, and I don't like that lineup collectively, but I think I like some individual pieces. Is sort of where I'm at. It's hard to see KC being the top scoring team on this slate. They could, sure.
Yeah, but I mean, I think they're worth having pieces, I guess. But definitely, I wouldn't 5-man stack the Royals.
TJ, what do you think as far as third base, the old hot corner? You got the Leprechaun Justin Turner batting third today versus Kyle Freeland, platoon advantage. Muncy is available at third as well. It's like, and everybody does have their thought on Muncy, who's just been a disaster. And is it correlation with him getting injured? I don't know. If it's a coincidence, I don't know. He does have a good eye. Like he's walking all the time. He's leading the league, I think, in walks, like 100 percentile as far as walks. But, obviously he's not the guy we once saw not too long ago. J-Ram, he's available in DK. You can play him for sure. Hanser Alberto for the Dodgers is kind of a cheapie. And then the other cheapie is leading off for Texas, Josh Smith, former Atlanta Hawk. What are your thoughts here, TJ, as far as third base?
That was funny. Good one.
It wasn't planned. It just sort of, that's where my brain went.
So Smith is a guy I'm getting to more at shorts on FanDuel where he is, but for me today, third base is mostly Justin Turner. That's who I'm heaviest on. And then my second favorite is going to be Nolan Arenado. He's not too pricey for how good of a hitter he is. And then after that, I'm really just mixing in the other Dodgers like Alberto, Muncy, other guys I already mentioned like Brandon Drury. Another player I like quite a bit today, whether as a one-off or part of a stack, is Matt Chapman.
I don't know if this is a question you can answer, TJ, but I think maybe possibly I'll throw it your way. Kid Catastrophe's got a question in chat. How do you guys figure out stack ratio slate to slate, as in 4-man stacks one day versus 3 versus 3 and another, and so on? Everything is sort of slate dependent. A lot of it matters how many games are being played, that kind of thing. How would you best answer that question? And without going on a whole diatribe, you probably can do a whole presentation on it.
So on a slate like today, I always 100% of the time on Lineup HQ when I'm using it, or when I'm hand building on FanDuel or DraftKings, I will have a 5 or 4-man stack. The odd time on DraftKings hand building a 4-4, but I'm almost always doing a 5 and then seeing where it goes from there. On FanDuel, the percentages I'll put in Lineup HQ almost always it's 4-4s most, followed by 4-3s, followed by 4-2s, and that's all I do. Today, it's actually more 4-3s than it is 4-4s because there's positions like second base, which we just talked about, that are gross and that I don't like. And so I'm not getting to any Kansas City players today, but I'm fine with playing Whit Merrifield as a one-off at second. And so because of it's for me, and this will be different depending on who you ask, but for me, it's really dependent on how many one-offs I want to play. If my top bats on the slate are in my top offenses, well, I can just roll 4-4s through the board because I'm going to be wanting to stack those teams anyways. But when there's players at positions I don't like, or players where I don't like the matchup for the team, but they're such a good player, it doesn't matter. That's where the more of those there are, the more for something else's I'll get as opposed to full stacks.
That was well explained. Tim, is there anything you can add to that?
My rule, like I used to hand build maybe like 10 to 15 lineups a night. My rule is I tend to be much more aggressive with full stacking either 4-4s on FanDuel or 5-3s on DK when there are fewer games on the slate. So like on a 15 game slate, I would prioritize, or at least, I would not ignore the one-offs that I really wanted to play. And get overweight on, let's just say, like Mike Trout, for example, and then do like a 5-2-1 or something like that. So the shorter the slate, the more likely I would be to full stack.
And so someone just asked as well, if I'm running 150 lineups, how many of these are generated by the optimizer and how many are hand built? So it'll depend on how much time I have before lock. And usually on a 15-game slate, it's not a ton. But I will generate on Lineup HQ all of them and then put them on FanDuel, make sure they're all entered and all good. And that's when I'll go through them, depending on how much time I have. And if I have enough time, I'll go through all 150. But if not, I'll go to the ones with my wackiest pitchers first or my wackiest stacks and just make sure the rest of the lineup is optimal. And I'll hand build from there. So I always generate the 150 from the optimizer, but I will hand adjust as many as I can leading up to lock. So for example, today, I'm going to make damn sure that in my 1 or 2 Silseth lineups, it's mixed with Dodgers and then whoever my next best stack that fits in is.
If this is all too complicated and it's all too much for you, like, trying to figure out how to make lineups with 30 teams and all that kind of stuff, there's another way to play. You can play on Stat Hero. Stat Hero is a unique fantasy sports platform that allows you to compete only against the house. You're not playing against TJ. You're not playing against Tim. You're not playing against Naked HD. You're not playing against myself. You can participate in a head-to-head style contest for Stat Hero. What they do is they're going to provide a lineup that you have to beat, pick'em style. And I know, Tim, you actually picked something out for the people today. We're going to show that in just a second. They also have survivor pools, pick'em style, but you can go ahead and use our promo code Grinders for a 50% deposit bonus up to $250. And Tim, I believe you have an example for the people. You're going to help them out. You got a winner in theory.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different selections you can make in their lobby, ranging anywhere from 10-1 to even money. I tried playing around with a couple of 10-1s, and I didn't feel comfortable recommending any of those to our viewers. So I chose an even money matchup. And they put out Yordan Alvarez, Alex Verdugo, and Brian Reynolds. And I am going to use Trout, Ward, and Odalis Garcia for the Rangers. And so if my lineup beats theirs, then I win even money.
I like it.
Joseph Ward, good call.
Yep.
Again, use the promo code Grinders, 50% deposit bonus up to $250. That is at Stat Hero. Tim, I believe you have third base for us.
Yeah, so, we talked about how the Pirates strike out quite a bit, and they do, but Brian Hayes doesn't. So I kind of like him quite a bit. Like if you don't want to do Muncy or Turner, I like Bobby Witt quite a bit. I like Michael Chavis too. I like I think TJ brought up Matt Chapman. I like him quite a bit for tournaments. Nolan is always a good play. I do want to say another thing. Like, let's not forget about the Guardians tonight. Like, J-Ram is probably going to be completely forgotten today.
And he's cheaper than normal on DK. He's 5'6", which he's usually in the 6s.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, again, it's kind of like, I don't think you want to, I wouldn't want to stat the Guardians, but I'd have no problem if you made a team and you really liked a one-off of J-Ram. Like that's a really good way to get different tonight. He has a massive ceiling every single time he plays. If people want to know who I'm personally playing on DK tonight, it's going to be Josh Smith. I'm punting third base with Josh Smith.
I'm probably going to have some Josh Smith as well. Chat's asking about Birdie. Why not Birdie? Well, I mean, he's got like 8. You're talking about stolen bases. You need him to get on and steal a couple of bases, and that's what he can do, and that's what he's done. I believe he's got 18 this month or something like that. But not a lot of power in that bat, despite the fact he did have a double dong homer game earlier this season. He is on the road leading off, but he's also no longer a punt. He's 5'3". Like, get out of the city, get out of the town for that one.
No, there's no chance I would pay that much for him on 53 or 36 on FanDuel. No chance.
Let's pick up the pace a little bit here. We've got derailed. My bad. It's probably on me. TJ, shortstop.
Something quick too I want to put in, and we'll rip through these quick, but I feel like this is a very useful tidbit for that earlier question we got asked about lineup building and hand building versus an optimizer. The other thing I did is there's stacks like Atlanta and Baltimore that I want to get into, and Philadelphia that I want to get into a very small amount of lineups. And the optimizer didn't give me, as people can see here on the screen. This is my unused exposure. They're all Braves, they're all Baltimore, and they're all Phillies. So I will go in and hand build. I'll delete 3 of the teams I like the least, and I will hand build lineups with those unused exposed players into just kind of like one of those 150. Now, at shortstop today, Trey Turner, obviously the top guy. I like him in stacks. I like him as one-offs. I think he's the top hitter on the board anywhere today. And next from there, to me, it's Rangers guys. It's Trey Turner 1, then it's Josh Smith, it's Corey Seager. Smith, of course, is shortstop eligible on FanDuel. And then after that is where I'm getting cheap or I'm just mixing in my stacks. Donovan Solano, Nico Horner, Bo Bichette. I don't mind Tim Anderson as a one-off. Jeremy Pena is batting second for Houston. I don't like the Houston stack today, but I don't mind a mini stack of like Pena and Alvarez, something like that. And Pena batting second, I think you can play as a one-off as well.
Tim?
TJ really nailed shortstop. I'm in complete agreement. Like if you're strictly playing cash or just don't want to fade the Dodgers, Trey Turner is probably the best individual bat on the slate today. I'm personally playing Corey Seager on DK. Probably going to play Josh Smith on FanDuel.
You like the Rangers?
What's that?
You like the Rangers?
I do.
I do too. Yeah, I got. I haven't ranked them in my top 5.
I've already made my DK lineup today, and I'm stacking the Rangers. So, Bo Bichette, always a good play. So I mean, I think TJ really got it.
Well, let's knock out the outfield as well. TJ, keep an eye on as far as those likes. I know you have one more Spidey Bomb lurking. Spider-Man gave you one more.
I gave it already early, but we're 12 away from 150, so I'll find a fourth one if we get 12 more likes here before the crunch time guys hop on.
Mike wants the homer picks of the day. Myself and Tim will share in just a second. By the way, 2 out of 3 yesterday. Not bad. We had O'Neal Cruz, and I believe we had Gary Sanchez, and the other one was Vogelbach. That's fine though. 2 out of 3. We'll take that all day long. TJ, outfield, what do you have for me?
So at the outfield position today, sorry, I'm just running one new set of lineup builds here, see if I can get a couple more of some teams like the Yankees and stuff like that. At outfield, Chris Taylor is my top guy. Ian Happ is my second. Surprise, surprise, based on those Spidey Bomb calls today. But Taylor and Happ are the 2 I'm getting the most of. And then it's the cheaper guys on the teams I like, Trace Thompson and Rafael Ortega. From there, I'm looking to get some of the top one-offs on the board. Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout, Adolis Garcia, George Springer. And the other cheap guys I'm interested in are Cole Calhoun. Cole Calhoun in the outfield, Dylan Carlson, Juan Yepes. Those are probably my 3 salary savers, 3 favorite salary savers on the board outside of Ortega and Thompson.
Crunch time crew coming in shortly. Tim, we'll give you homers in a second. Give me your thoughts as far as the outfield. You said you like the Rangers. I don't think their outfielders are that great today, are they?
I hope they are, Dean, because I've got Garcia and Calhoun. So it's you're right though. I mean, they're obviously not projecting very well. It's kind of I'm just kind of trying to play it a little riskier tonight. I'm trying to get off of the Chris Taylor, Trace Thompson type lineups, I guess, that are going to be out there floating around.
Yeah.
Not to say that those are bad plays. Like if I'm playing strictly cash games tonight, I'm probably going to go, Rodon, Wheeler, Thompson, Taylor, but that's not what I'm shooting for tonight. I'm kind of shooting for more of a ceiling. So that I have Garcia and Calhoun right now. I also, I really like George Springer tonight. I considered one-offing him instead of playing Garcia. And I think he's like $17 on Yahoo, which is not like super cheap, but he's pretty cheap over there.
Let's fire off some homers. Spidey has already given us homers. TJ, did you give homers independent of Spidey, or yours like a joint venture?
This can be, if we hit 2 more likes, I can give my own one here. And I'm doubling down on what Tim said. I trust we're going to get it here. Cole Calhoun is going to hit a bomb today. We like these Texas outfielders.
All right. I will fire mine off, and then I'll throw – and I'm gonna go off the board because, I'm not going to give you like the clear and obvious stuff. But Juan Yepes, there you go. I'll take Juan Yepes versus Braxton Garrett. I did talk about this dude a couple times, so let's go with it. Vinny Pasquantino in his MLB debut bangs out a homer. And I had one more. I liked Votto, but he was already taken, so I don't want to double down and make it seem like I'm repackaging or plagiarizing Spider-Man. God forbid.
Classic you.
That's now my let's pick. How about Brian Reynolds? There it is. Somebody's going to get Corbin. I'll take Brian Reynolds. Nobody said Brian Reynolds, right? I don't believe so.
Nope. You're good.
All right. Tim, see those homers and raise them.
These aren't exactly that off the board, but I like Tommy Pham and Odalis Garcia. Those are my 2 home runs.
We have over 400 people watching, and the Crunch Time guy is about to come in. I can't confirm this, but he can as he rolls in. I'm pretty sure if we get 200 likes today, Carty will just get the bat tattooed across his forehead.
We'll ask him as he comes in. Actually, I believe we hear. Carty, can you confirm or deny? Is that true? Is that what you're going to do?
Cannot confirm or deny this rumor.
All right. Well,
something I can confirm, and it's a definite reason to hit the like button, is it's a momentous occasion because tonight's recording of the Morning Grind is mine and Grant's first ever show together.
Yeah, sucks to be you.
Grant, I was actually polite and nice to you earlier in the show. I'm sure you were watching. Thanks for supporting the show. But I was saying how on fire you've been in Scores and Odds and the Action Lounge. You keep betting these homers on 4-1, 5-1, and you're making that video on the MLB Home Run Twitter account. People are very angry. Why are you spamming me at 12 o'clock? All I want is dongs. I want nothing else.
Yeah, don't take out this 3 seconds of my time every day.
Not a home run doesn't count. Not a home run doesn't count. That's like every comment.
I've been told by someone in chat to say that you look like Sam Dullard from Rocket Power. And that's a reference I feel like Carty would get.
I don't get that reference. Who's Sam Dullard?
Yeah,
as he's laughing, nice.
What?
He's just sitting there giggling.
Who are you talking about? Who's Sam Dullard?
Google him. You have a computer in front of you, I assume.
I have a machine. I have the Google. Sam Dullard is a character on Rocket Power, a boy in the same age group as Otto and Twister. Who are Otto and Twister? Who are any of these people?
His friends on Rocket Power. Dean, pay attention.
Oh, I've seen this show before. I've seen this show before. It's a good show.
I have not. Do we watch this in the year 2022, Carty? Or you watch Rocket Power? Is that on the?
I watched this when I was 13 years old.
Yeah, some of us weren't born in the early 1900s, Dean.
Yeah, me and Wilford Brimley were classmates. So I don't look like this guy. This person is like
if he grew up and grew a white mustache, yeah, that's basically him.
It's a kid with blonde hair. We're both blind. Otherwise, I don't see it. I don't get it. Huh? I mean, sorry.
You should probably dye your hair blonde now for my wedding.
Well, I'm going to go this way or this way. Which way do I go? You want me to go here first?
Yeah.
The fact that you're going to Grant's wedding and not mine makes me think you have to buy more things off my registry, Dean.
Well, because Grant actually sent me an invite, unlike you, who invited me. You invited me in the YouTube chat, which is not official, just to gouge me out of buying you something off the registry.
The year's 2022. We don't send hard copies anymore. It's all online.
I want to feel special, though. You sent it out to everybody in YouTube, basically. We're all on the same. I mean, nothing against the people on YouTube, but like we're coworkers. I should be get a little bit of respect, In theory.
In theory, for sure.
I don't know. Hey, Carty, I'm stalling long enough, but I think you can speak for yourself. You're going to be touting possibly, maybe, Patrick Corbin?
Not by choice, but yes.
That's kind of where we were at earlier in the show. It's like, yeah, you can play him. I don't want to do this. I can't say this 100 times. I do not want to do it, but I understand why one would. And I guess that's
actually a good play today.
Oh, no. Yeah.
And Dean, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but of my 150 lineups, I have dropped Chase Silseth to being only in one.
Yeah, jeez. It's one too many. Even Patrick Corbin's like, dude, take Silseth out of your lineup. All right, we should step aside and get out of here. It's a big boy slate. The people want to get all the analysis from. Oh, wait, is Cards lurking? Is Cards here?
Cards is here. I'm just
sitting
here in the background.
Shout out to you, Cards, for being like, you're the guy who you bet on the Rockies last night. 5K, big boy. You stepped up. You weren't messing around.
That was the biggest. That was the biggest individual wager I've ever made. Because the Dodgers game the night before, it was so emotional with all that Freddie Freeman crap, and you can tell that there's some tension there. And then Freeman went and fired like his agents today. But that game didn't get over till midnight, and I'm sitting over here yesterday. It was like 85% of the money's on the Dodgers. Everybody's talking about the Dodgers. The Dodgers have to go cross country after a game that ended at midnight, right? This is one of the situations. Sorry,
cross country is
Carty's not going to agree with this, but this is one of those situations where the Dodgers just don't care about a June game in Coors Field after they got on a plane at 2 a.m. They're pissed at Freddie Freeman. They're going all the way to Colorado. I mean, did I expect Chad Kuhl to throw a shutout? Certainly not, but I was happy with it. I mean, for that to not even really be a sweat was pretty awesome. So I know Grant's hit all the homers and he's up a zillion units, but that one felt pretty good to just be, one that I had to go in on, and I was happy that it hit.
Yeah, you're like the guy betting the don't pass lane. Like everybody's got the Dodgers, and don't pass is good, right? I'm not a big craps guy, but isn't. Yeah, Grant, you play craps. The table all wants it to pass, right?
Yeah, everyone wants the pass line, and you're the D-bag if you're doing the don't pass line. I have one friend in particular who I hate to see win, so I always bet the don't pass line whenever he's shooting. That's the only time I'll ever do it.
Yeah, so that's kind of what Cards was last night. That's the point I was making. He was the D-bag.
That's fine. Yeah. I'll take the D-bag and my $9,000 that I got off of it. That's just fine.
You're gonna go play on the Live Tour next?
I don't think they can afford me on there. $200 million to Brooks.
Myself and TJ and Tim, we're gonna step aside and get out of here. Start the FanDuel sponsor Crunch Time, starring you got the creator, the curator of the Bat and the Blitz, starring the prognosticator, the owner of Gray Sports Almanac, apparently, SDL Cards. Grant is here, too. That's our show. We're out of here. Grant.
See ya, Dean.
Holler.
Welcome, everyone. You see my pickle? It blends in with my green screen. That's my pickle. Just so
and your basketball background.
Yeah, apparently I do. I did not know that. But welcome to Crunch Time, everyone. We are sponsored by FanDuel, and if you haven't already signed up for your FanDuel Sportsbook, you're just making bad life choices. $1,000 risk-free bet up to $1K, or 100% risk-free bet up to $1K on your first bet. Go sign up. Terms and conditions apply. But users that take advantage of this will receive their bonus right after their first bet. It's that simple. Go do it. It's literally free money. It's what I do. I travel to different states to do this. So it's free money. Go take care of it. We are sponsored by FanDuel, and I'm joined by two guys who I haven't been on the show in a long time with. How you doing there? We'll start off with you, STL.
Yeah, doing well. Obviously, last night was fun. Didn't play DFS last night, so I guess I could have gotten in on the Dodgers fade there, but will be interesting to see how that goes tonight. Huge slate, obviously, lots of pitching. Should be a really fun one tonight.
Yeah, Carty, you're really going to tout Patrick Corbin?
I really am. I don't really like doing it, but yeah, that's going to happen. Get ready, guys. Be excited.
Hey, you got me sold. You got me sold. Boom. Throwing in Corbin. I don't know why, but I was trying to set my lineup. I've got this beautiful Seattle stack that I'm loving, and I just couldn't get up to Sears. And now I just typed in Corbin's name, and he fits. So, boom, in the warning track. $150 down the drain, thanks to Patrick Corbin. So we'll go ahead and get right into this. Speaking of Patrick Corbin, let's start out with pitching, starting off with Fanduel, our sponsor. Who are you liking? Is it Corbin over there?
No, I mean, it's not like Corbin's like the best pitcher on this slate or anything like that. He's more of a DraftKings play where he's super cheap. We'll talk about him in a minute, but the top pitcher on the slate is Carlos Rodon, and it's not close between him and anybody else. In cash games, you play him on FanDuel, you play him on DraftKings. He's one of the absolute best pitchers in baseball. He's facing the Detroit Tigers, who are perhaps the worst offense in baseball. It's pretty cold there. It's the only game under 60 degrees. Most other games are in the 70s or 80s, or I think, Coors is in the 90s. So it's not one you have to overthink. Play Rodon in your cash games, and he's the top guy. And then on DraftKings, where you have to pair him with somebody, that's where it's a little more of a decision. Robbie Ray, I think, is the guy you just play. He's facing Baltimore. Also, a cold game. It's the only other game under 70 degrees. And yeah, I think that's good. If you want to, though, you can think about playing Patrick Corbin. Patrick Corbin's not good. The bat doesn't even like Patrick Corbin. If you go to Fangraphs and you look at all the different projection systems and what they think of Patrick Corbin, the bat is easily the low man. It's the only one with an ERA over 5 the rest of the year. It doesn't think he's good, but he's not as bad as he's been so far this year. You look at his peripherals and you look at his ERA, he's not as bad as he's been. And I know this has been going on a couple years now, but it's still small sample territory. And the matchup today is really good. He's facing the Pirates. The Pirates are not a very good offense. They are actually, this version of the Pirates offense today is straight up terrible. It's real bad. And it's the third most strikeout heavy offense on the slate. And he's 5.3K. He's really cheap. Yeah, there's definite risk here. There's blow up risk for sure. But at that price, he projects the same as a lot of these 9K guys. He projects like basically the same as like Woodruff and Minaya and Castillo and Morton, and he's 5.3K. If you want to save money, you want to spend up on other fun stuff, there's lots of good offense today. You can play him. In GPPs, at the very least, Patrick Corbin is a phenomenal play.
All right. That's fair. You didn't sell me enough. Now I'm backing out. Cards. Give me some new pitchers.
It's really tough. Most people are probably landing on one side of the Corbin debate tonight. And it's tough for me to backtrack on it because I've been banging on the anti-Corbin drum for forever. And so it's hard to backtrack on that and say, yeah, now play him at 5,300. I do agree with the logic, though, given that salary and on DraftKings where you need a second pitcher and the fact that it's pretty significantly discounted. I get it. Especially if he's only going to be like 11% owned. Like when I was starting to read stuff earlier in the day, I kind of figured he'd end up in that 20-ish% territory on DraftKings, which starts to get a little shaky for my liking in GPPs. So, yes, you can probably roll out some Pittsburgh stacks if you're of the complete opinion that Corbin is just beyond repair at this point. As Carty mentioned, his advanced metrics aren't as bad as his surface numbers indicate. So most people are probably they've got their mind made up. Either, yeah, they're fine with it because, they understand the salary and the analytics are going to say it's a good play based on the point per dollar projections, and the people that are just, looking at his numbers and he's toast are just going to be out. So I really don't think we're going to move the needle one way or the other on how people are forming their opinions of him. So I will just kind of land in the middle there. If you need it, fine. I probably won't play him just because I like the idea of maybe going on DraftKings with 2 expensive pitchers and finding some cheaper offenses to stack up in GPPs. So like the Rodon Wheeler combo or something like that, it'll be a little bit more contrarian. Charlie Morton's going to get some ownership. He's been really good over the last couple of months after a really slow start to the season. And without Harper in that Philly lineup, I think there's some upside there. His strikeout prop is actually up to 6.5 tonight. So in terms of the like secondary upper tier arms, I think Morton is the guy that most people will land on. Maybe Mania and Gallen after that. That's a head-to-head game and a 7.5 total. So I don't have real strong opinions on a lot of these guys. I'm out on Castillo, pretty favorable hitting weather in Chicago. I'm out on Woodruff, first game back from the IL. Montas just isn't necessary against the Yankees. So a lot of these top end guys you can just easily X out. Like Valdez, probably not a ton of upside against the Mets. Skubal against the Giants. Kershaw and Coors. Like there's a lot of really good pitchers tonight, but tough matchups for a lot of them. So I think the double spend up strategy in GPPs on DraftKings I think is interesting, because a lot of people probably aren't going to do that. So if you're looking to still play Rodon, I think you could maybe pair him with Ray and Wheeler and find some cheaper bats. Otherwise, as for cheap pitching, it's really only Sears and Corbin. And Corbin does project a little better. So, and we've got them around the same ownership.
One, I can't believe I'm the Patrick Corbin guy, but one other point in Corbin's favor. I threw him out on my betting show earlier today, and I'm looking at what the lines are now. He's been moving all day. His line started at like 4.5 strikeouts with like -115 on the over. And now it's like -150 on the over. Some books are up to 5.5 strikeouts, which I think says a lot about a guy like Corbin, because everybody hates him. No one wants to bet the over on Corbin. And if these lines are moving that way anyway, I do think it kind of speaks to this is kind of a sharp play where maybe Corbin's not going to be awful tonight.
Yeah, it could be. I'm still more on the Sears train, but
I'm fine with Sears too as a GPP guy, but I do prefer Corbin.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Looking at offshore stuff, Pinnacle has Corbin at pretty much the same as what the market is, slightly less than the market. Let's move on to catchers here. STL starts off.
Yeah, obviously, you don't need to play one on FanDuel, so you're probably not going to see a ton of ownership at the catcher spot. There's really not a whole lot of must plays at the position tonight. We don't have anybody over like 6% ownership on FanDuel, and right now we've got the chalk with Barnes on DK, and that's just kind of goes to show you how bad the catching spot is tonight, because even though he's hitting ninth, he's probably going to get the ownership because he's 2,600 and he's playing in Coors Field. I will say, like, the Dodgers lineup is halfway uninspiring, particularly against lefties right now. And that's just some thought process behind potentially, because you're going to see the Dodgers are the chalk at every position, even though we've got 14 games on the FanDuel slate tonight. You're still going to see everybody going to the Dodgers. This isn't 7 years ago DFS where they burned everybody the night before and everybody's going to go away from them. I'm not as low on them as I was last night. Obviously, they've had another day to rest, and it's also really hot, and their team total is like 6.6 runs. So, yes, in cash games, you're going to play some Dodgers. I don't think that it's a bad idea to be underweight the Dodgers in GPPs, because on a slate this size, when you get almost any team where a lot of the players that are going to be like 20% owned, it rarely makes sense from an ownership perspective to just go stacking that team. Like, if you're stacking the Dodgers on DraftKings tonight and you're playing Rodon and Corbin, rethink it, because that's not the move. All the Rodon, Corbin, Dodger stacks, you better nail all your one-off plays, because you're not going to be the only one doing that. So, again, I don't dislike the Dodgers, and I think you're probably playing like 3 or 4 of them in cash games tonight. But in GPPs, absolutely fine going underweight there. And that would start with Barnes hitting ninth at 20+% ownership. I just don't think that makes sense in tournaments. You've got Moreno in there for Toronto at a similar price, catching tonight. I mean, he's a pretty decent prospect. You can spend all the way up for Contreras if you want. If you're stacking Texas, you can play Jonah Heim. He's got some pop. So there are ways you can go. The catcher position is just really bad tonight, and I'm not going to argue against Barnes in cash games, but I think the thought process is right to maybe be underweight the Dodgers in tournaments.
No interest in Cal Raleigh?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's fine. The Seattle's fine. Kramer, interesting metrics on Kramer. Definitely blow up potential there. So yeah, I'm fine with Seattle, and Raleigh at catcher's fine too.
All right, yeah, I'm on Seattle. Carty.
Yeah, I'm definitely with Cards on the whole Dodgers thing. They're the best team tonight, and you're definitely going to play a bunch of them in cash games. But in GPPs, they do look like they're going to be over-owned. Even last night when they projected for like almost 8 runs, and they were just like one of the best things we've seen in a long time, they still looked like they were going to be over-owned. And tonight they're not projecting anywhere near as well as they did last night. They're still projecting it's the best because they're the Dodgers in Coors Field. But yeah, at this ownership, I do think there's plenty of other good options that you can be looking at. I like Cleveland. I like Toronto. I like the Rockies. There's plenty of other ones. In terms of catcher, Austin Barnes is the guy you play in cash games on DraftKings. I like Wilson Contreras in GPPs. I like MJ Melendez. Guys in your stacks. Elias Diaz in your Rocky stacks. Ryan Jeffers in your Minnesota stacks. That kind of thing.
All right, moving on to first base. Carty, go.
Yeah, first base. Ohtani on DraftKings, where he's a first baseman, is the top option here today. I think he's a good play. He's not like a must play, but in GPPs, he's projecting at mid-single digit ownership. So I do like him a lot in GPPs. I think he's borderline cash viable. Freddie Freeman in Coors is good, but it's lefty on lefty. He's expensive. I don't think you have to get up to him by any means. Kind of the mid-range guy that I like a lot is Joey Votto. With all the talk about Coors, we do have kind of a Wrigley win game going on. We have about double-digit wins, about 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to center field here in Wrigley. It's 80 degrees, and the Reds are facing Keegan Thompson. Joey Votto's 3-4 on DraftKings. He's 2-6 on Fanduel, and I think he's a really good play. Fanduel in particular, he's a really, really good play. But yeah, I like him a lot. Michael Chavis at 2K on DraftKings. Even though we kind of like Corbin, he's not the greatest guy in the world. Chavis is hitting cleanup. He's min price. He's got the platoon advantage, so I like him quite a bit. And I think Jared Walsh is also viable on both sites.
All right, STL.
Yeah, Carty nailed most of the strong plays there. Votto, I think Votto's viable on DraftKings too. 3,400 on DK,
Yeah.
2,600 on FanDuel. Pretty solid price. You can play Yepes at first base on FanDuel, but probably best to put him in the outfield if you're going to play him. Obviously, Goldschmidt against the lefty, you can always play, just putting up ridiculous numbers. He's almost up to even money now to win MVP, not even halfway through the year, which is pretty crazy. I mean, even as a Cardinals fan, I wouldn't have expected him to be having the kind of season he is, but he's just been raking over the last 2 months. He's obviously very expensive, but I think if you're going top dollar at the position, I do prefer Goldie and GPP builds over Freeman for just a couple $100 less on FanDuel, and he is 100 more on DraftKings. So, and then Chavis has a punt, particularly on DK where he's 2K. I'm fine with that as well. Has always hit lefties fairly well. Josh Bell, if you want a kind of a different lower owned play that might have some pop against Quintana is fine too. Did we lose Grant?
Mute button.
We
Mute
muted
button. I'm a dummy. Go ahead and lead us off with second base.
Yeah, second base is a fairly weak position tonight. It just, again, the ownership is on Muncy. Given the way that he has hit this year, I don't think you have to play Muncy against a lefty at 4,900 on DK and 3,200 on FanDuel. I think I prefer saving a little bit with India. Maybe even in cash games. I don't know. I'm interested in Carty's take on Muncy in cash games, but I'm fine being underweight there in tournaments again with the Dodgers as a whole. With this position being kind of weak tonight, like there's plenty of lower owned pivots. Edmund, Drury, Marcus Semien are the guys that are going to pop maybe the most in terms of higher priced guys. Luis Arias, if you're playing on DraftKings, the second game of that doubleheader is on the DK slate, and he's hitting cleanup in game 2, so he's fine. Donovan Solano, another cheap guy that maybe you could consider on DK, but pretty weak position tonight. So, I mean, even Hanser Alberto on DraftKings, you can play at second, but I don't know. Again, I hate to keep banging the drum that I'm lower on the Dodgers, but Carty, I'm curious on your take with how to handle Muncy in cash games.
I don't think he's like a stone must play the way I thought he was last night, but I do think he's the top second baseman on the slate. On FanDuel, I'm much more likely to just get up to him because I don't think the price is that prohibitive over there. On DraftKings at almost 5K, like, yeah, there are other options. If I can get there, I want to, but I am fine with Jonathan India, like you said, leading off in this Wrigley win game. He's really a good play. Well priced on FanDuel also. I think those are kind of like the only real cash options for me. In GPPs, though, I mentioned liking Cleveland stacks. Andres Jimenez is hitting 5th. He's 4-2 on DraftKings. I like him quite a bit. Marcus Semien in your Texas stacks, that kind of thing. Brendan Rodgers in your Rocky stacks. But really, like you said, it's a weak position. I do think Muncy is the best. We had the discussion last night with Roth and Cheese, and I still think Max Muncy is a very, very good baseball player.
All right, start us off with third base.
Muncy also eligible at third base on both sites. Again, I think he's a good play. Justin Turner in the same lineup, I think, is a really good play, especially on FanDuel. Again, I think the price over there, 3.5, is pretty nice. Not that hard to get up to. So I like him. I like Chris Bryant quite a bit on FanDuel. He's third base eligible also. It's Kershaw, but it's a lefty in Coors. So I like Bryant. Really, I do think third base is kind of condensed. Like there isn't really like a standout guy. I think there's plenty of guys that are viable in GPPs. Matt Chapman, especially on DraftKings, I think is a good play. I think you can also just punt it. Josh Smith is 2.4K. He's hitting leadoff for Texas tonight against John Heasley. Honestly, that's probably my preferred route for third base for DraftKings. And then on FanDuel, it's probably to get up to Turner. And then it's your GPP stack type guys.
Carty, are you under the age of 50?
Yes, I am.
Oh, I do know someone under the age of 50 who doesn't just have their phone on silent or vibrate. Good to know.
It is on Do Not Disturb. I don't know why that keeps going off.
Somebody in the chat asked if an alien was coming to grab him.
Yeah, that's a wild ringtone.
Yeah, it's an alarm that's apparently getting through the Do Not Disturb.
Oh, okay. That makes sense for an alarm. Okay.
It's just like one of the default like ringtones or whatever for the alarm. Yeah.
All right. Well, STL. On that note, third base.
Yeah, Carty, I thought he was going to make it through without mentioning my favorite tournament play of the day. He did. Took a little of the luster off, but I really like Matt Chapman in tournaments tonight. You look at Waka throughout his career has been a reverse splits guy. Probably was pitching over his head the first couple months of the year. A game that, has a 9-run total, Toronto at home. Chapman's been taking really good at bats the last few games. And at 3,700 on DraftKings, particularly hitting 6th against a reverse splits pitcher. I think Chapman in tournaments is a guy I'm definitely going to be overweight on tonight. I'm fine with Ke'Bryan Hayes if you're on the, particularly in tournaments as well, if you're on the anti-Corbin train. But I do agree with the Josh Smith call on DK, given his salary there. He's shortstop on FanDuel, so Slightly different logic applies based on the position, but obviously we can talk about him in shortstop on FanDuel as well. Devers a guy you can consider to kind of round out your tournaments, but Chapman's my guy tonight.
All right. I like it. Go on over to shortstop, STL.
Yeah, Turner is the one Dodger that I probably would get some exposure to, even if you're not huge on the stack. Just the upside with his all-around game in that park. Turner's just he's the hardest Dodger to fade in my eyes. So again, Smith, if you want the punt, he's shortstop only on FanDuel. So maybe you can maneuver some lineups to get him in there, but it's basically that if you spend up, you got Turner. If you go super cheap, you've got Smith. Everyone else kind of falls into a bit of no man's land. But the good news is you're not going to get a lot of ownership there. So guys like Bo Bichette or Jazz Chisholm, who's back in the lineup tonight against Hudson, who's terrible, and Corey Seager, as the Texas offense getting overlooked a little bit against a bad pitcher with no control. These are all guys that you can throw into your GPP builds that are going to be single-digit owned tonight.
Nice. Carty, we should probably speed things up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, get up to Turner on DraftKings because in cash. We don't have Will Smith. We don't have Mookie Betts. Like, prioritize Turner. On FanDuel, I am totally fine going down to Josh Smith. I like Texas a lot tonight. I think Smith is really good. And then it's your tournament guys. It's Seager in your Texas stacks. It's Bichette in your Blue Jay stacks. That's shortstop.
All right. Outfield.
For the Dodgers, again, we'll just go over the Dodgers quickly. Chris Taylor is hitting cleanup. He's 3.2K. He's really good. Trace Thompson is 2.5K tonight on DraftKings, so he's going to be a good play. Will be a bit of a pinch, or on FanDuel rather, 2.5K and 3.2K for Taylor. Thompson's a bit of a pinch hit risk, but still going to be a good play. I think he's still the min. He's still the min on DraftKings. He's 2K. Him and Taylor are both really, really good cash plays. Chris Bryant on the other side for the Rockies is a good play. I like Ohtani. Again, I mentioned him at first, but I like him a lot in the outfield. On FanDuel, you can only play him in the outfield, and I do think he's kind of a priority spend-up guy. I like some of the Guardians guys. Stephen Kwan is 3K on DraftKings leading off. I like him. I like Benintendi on both sites, but FanDuel in particular. Ramon Laureano on FanDuel is 2.5K. I think he's a good play. Ian Happ is definitely a good, I think, low-owned home run play in GPPs in this Wrigley win game. Yeah, that's outfield for me.
All right, STL.
Yeah, strong position. Obviously, you got tons of options here. Carty mentioned a lot of the good plays, a few others. Obviously, for the same reasons I like Matt Chapman, I think you could play Teoscar Hernandez or George Springer in the outfield. Cole Calhoun is only 2,300 on FanDuel hitting cleanup for Texas. So those are a few other guys you can maybe sprinkle in there. If you're on the Cubs a little bit, I think Rafael Ortega is interesting. He took some really good at-bats over the weekend against the Cardinals, and with the wind blowing out there, he has shown a little bit more pop lately. So speaking of, I think the Cardinals outfielders are fine as well. We talked about Yepez at first base. Carlson's only 2,600. He's hitting second tonight against a lefty. And then this is a spot where to appease Grant, you can maybe mix in some more of those Seattle guys. I think Rodriguez and Winker are both interesting for tournaments as well.
All right. Well, let's just get into QQs. We only got about 9 minutes left before the game start here. We'll just switch off. Carty, DKGPP, Moncada or Josh Smith?
Josh Smith. He's going to be higher owned probably, so it depends on your lineup, but I like Smith at his price a lot.
Cards, what do you think of the J stack on FanDuel GPP? Negative regression coming from Waka?
Yeah, I mean, I like it, and mainly because that's a pretty righty-heavy lineup, which matches up well against him. And we've got them all at like 10% owned or less, so I do like Toronto.
All right, what are my home run picks tonight? Rutzman, Rodriguez, and we'll say Ward. I have a lot of them. Or my favorite Seattle players, Rodriguez, Raleigh, Winker. Carty, 2v2, FanDuel, Cash, Chavez, and Springer, or Muncy and Reynolds?
Muncy and Reynolds.
STL, DK Cash, Wheeler, and Taylor, or Sears and Trout?
I do the first one in cash.
All right. Carty, does DK Cash, Otani, Josh Smith in India, or Muncy, Justin Turner, and Kwan?
I'll go with the second one, but the first one's viable.
All right. STL, FanDuel GPP, Votto as a one-off or Nathan Lowe to complete a four-man stack?
I don't love those questions because it all depends on like how you want to build your lineup. If you want to go full out with the stack, I mean, individually, Votto grades out as the better play.
Yeah. DK Cash, Trey Turner and Ward, or Trout and Muncy?
That's a tough call. I think go Trey Turner and Ward.
All right. QQ, what would you say in DK GPP's playing a Reds or Cubs stack is viable considering Weather Edge sample of 170 game? It's going way under owned. I personally have my one stack is Mariners Reds. So Carty.
Yeah, I think that game is absolutely fine.
Yeah. Carty, DK Cash, Gonzalez or Kwan?
Kwan.
STL, thoughts on Gray and Castillo for FanDuel GPP?
Gray and Castillo, the pitchers, I assume. Diego Castillo is going to get some ownership on DK, but presume that's just a pitching question. I am not on Castillo with the weather there, so I would prefer Gray if you're just choosing between the two.
All right, Carty, Jeremy Pena as a DK one-off?
Definitely not in cash. I mean, GPP, like, fine, but there's definitely better plays.
All right, STL 2,500 on FanDuel, Chavez or Trace Thompson?
I mean, I am not a Trace Thompson guy. I just don't think he's very good. So the question is, does the park outweigh that? Again, personal preference, but in GPPs, I like Chavis a little bit more.
All right, Carty, DK Cash, Slater, Ruff, or Gurriel for the final outfield spot?
Just play Trace Thompson. Like, none of those guys are really cash viable.
Cards on FanDuel, salary included. How would you rank the 5 cards after Nolan and Goldie? Yepez, Carlson, Edmonds.
This was FanDuel?
Yeah.
Probably in that order. Maybe Edmonds second, but definitely Yepez first.
All right, Carty, Jays or Rangers 5-man stack? What do you prefer?
I like them both tonight. I'll go Jays first, but I do like both.
All right, now I'm just searching for more questions. All right. Cards, one stack to win at GPP tonight. Any question for both of you?
Oh, boy. I mean, it's probably Toronto for me, or maybe Cincinnati. Those would be my first 2 picks when you factor in ownership.
All right, Carty.
On DraftKings, where you get the Cleveland game, I'll say Cleveland. On FanDuel, maybe I'll say Toronto.
All right. STL, Wheeler, Justin Turner, or Robbie Ray Arenado? FanDuel.
The first one would be the cash play. I don't mind the second one in GPPs if you're looking for a lower owned pivot.
All right. Carty, QQ, Baz pitch count not cutting it for SP2 on DK GPP?
I mean, he has a short leash, and he probably won't be able. I mean, he probably won't go more than like 90 pitches, 95 like top. So I think on a slate where we do have quite a few good pitching options, it probably doesn't cut it. Yeah.
All right, STL, FanDuel Cash 2v2, Ortega and Reynolds, or Yepez and Carlson mini stack?
I mean, the stack portion of it is irrelevant in cash, so don't think of it that way. But I do like the Cardinals a little better.
All right, Carty, is Manea Montas too cute as a pitcher pairing?
It depends on what you're doing with the rest of your lineup. You know, I think they're both certainly fine tonight. I don't think it's necessarily too cute. And you can probably get away with some Dodgers with them, I would think, because neither one's going to be especially high owned.
All right, back to you, Carty. Robbie Ray, SP2 for DK Cash. Good way to lose.
No, I think that's probably the right move.
Oh, really? All right. STL, FanDuel single entry, Keegan Thompson and Arenado, or Sears Endeavor?
Yeah, definitely the second one. Don't play Keegan Thompson.
All right, Carty, White Sox card stack with Rodon and Yepes.
There's teams I'd pick before White Sox and certainly teams I'd pick before the Cards. It's a GPP. You can do it. But there are teams I like more.
All right. DK Cash, Raleigh, or Jeffers?
I'd take Jeffers first, but play Austin Barnes instead.
Raleigh's the best tournament GPP play, just so you know. He's going to hit a home run. It will happen. I bet it, and I just don't lose at this point. STL, thoughts on a Padre stack?
Not for me tonight. Too big of a slate.
All right. I think we're all caught up. Just searching through the YouTube, trying to find a question for this last minute. I see absolutely nothing. No one's interested in Baz?
I don't think so. The leash is short. The matchup's not that good. There's a number of pretty good pitchers on this slate.
Yeah, if this was a slate that was thinner with pitching, maybe. But what's the ceiling? The ceiling is there's not much of a ceiling that you need for GPPs, and it's not necessary in cash because there's so many other options. So I struggle to find the why with him. Like if you're playing him in cash, don't, because there's safer options. If you're playing him in GPPs, he's just not going to give you the ceiling that you probably need. So
there's close to I can count 9 pitchers that for sure have a higher ceiling than Baz.
Yeah, that's fair. Josh Van Meter, DK GPP one-off, STL?
It doesn't pop for me. I mean, but he's 2,600. I mean, probably not unless you're stacking the Pirates.
I think we've pretty much hit lock, and I have no more questions. Any last-minute thoughts before we get on out of here?
Not much. I think we covered it pretty well.
All right. Well, good seeing you guys. Always a fun time. My dog is getting impatient for some reason. I don't know why, but it's been fun. We're out of here. You've been crunched.